Welcome back to Oz Arab Media. Hi, I'm Shay, and today we're joined by a very special guest, Bruce Pawley. Bruce is one of the Bankstown RSL's directors and a key supporter of Oz Arab Media. Bruce, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Shay, and thank you for having me. I much appreciate Oz Arab Media's interest in Bankstown RSL.
Thank you. It's a very, very special year for Bankstown RSL. 2025, that is 70 years of Bankstown RSL in the local area. Give or take a few years, because I know there are some formalities behind it, but it's a big, big year. Please, Bruce, share with us more about your personal journey and contribution to Bankstown RSL.
Yeah, sure, Shay. My personal life, I started work early in my teens. I was only 14, I think, when I first started my job. I haven't had a lot of jobs. Most of them have been for years 10 or 8 or 12. The last one was 15 years as a courier working for Toll Transport. I joined Bankstown RSL in 1969 after I came home from Vietnam. I had 12 months in Vietnam. I was fortunate. I was taken under the wing of a number of the older generation at the club. Not everybody was supportive of the Vietnam War, and it was a bit of a rough time for a lot of veterans. But I got involved in the indoor sporting outfits within the club, particularly the billiard and snooker club. I got elected to their committee, and I spent best part of 30 years involved with the snooker and billiards at the club. I was their president for a number of years. I became a life member, and during that time, I was encouraged to join different committees. The Return Services League, which was the sub-branch. I got elected to positions on that once again for around 30, 35 or 40 years. And in 1973, I was elected to the board of management of the club.
The RSL has played a significant role in shaping Australia's history and in supporting veterans, their families and local areas. Bruce, talk to me about the significance of the RSL and its legacy and contribution to locals.
Yeah, sure. Veterans returning from the First and Second World Wars particularly the First World War, straight after a major depression in the country, and jobs were scarce, so the RSL played a big part working with the local businesses in the community to find employment for veterans, gave them support, not only support financially in some cases, because the RSL itself was struggling a bit during those times, but gave them moral support, somewhere to share their stories with like people who had been through the experience of war. So it was the sub-branches played a big part in the overall community, especially working with local councils. A lot of our employees, our sub-branch members were employed by the council in those days. The Second World War was a bit the same. And of course, when I joined the sub-branch in 1969, after returning from Vietnam, I had a bit of trouble struggling finding jobs and that sort of stuff because I didn't sort of fit into a lot of places. But I got confidence from people who gave it to me through their experiences. They'd been through it before, and I was fortunate enough to have been taken under the wing of some of the older members. Well, going back over the years, the local club was the meeting place for most. We had a huge auditorium back during the mid-70s to late 70s, where most of the local dance clubs and schools held their formals and dance finals competitions. The local community used the club as their local town hall virtually, especially after the Bankstown town hall burnt down somewhere in the 80s. Bankstown was the biggest auditorium in this southern western region. I mean, long before the sports club or Revesby Workers and those other bigger clubs that are much larger than us now, but we were the biggest club in the Bankstown district. And the population used it to their advantage and, of course, to the club's advantage. But we've always been a contributor to the local community, whether it be holding social functions in the club or the sub-branch holding their anniversary days and Anzac Day, Remembrance Day, Pearl Harbor Day, bombing of Darwin Days, those sort of things were all organised and run by the sub-branch in the club, basically combined. They worked collaboratively to support those functions in the Bankstown community.
A massive role, as you've shared with us, and a continuing role as well in the area. Clearly, Bankstown RSL has played a huge role in shaping the local area. It's had a huge rebuild. Talk to us about its key features. What are your favourite features that every resident should experience?
Well, I think it's a new club. It's only just on 5 years old. It's certainly a site in Bankstown, a prominent site in Bankstown as you come into the local community or into the local shopping precinct. Bankstown RSL is one of the biggest features coming from the south. And as I said, the old club become a little bit dilapidated and it become a very hard to manage from a board's point of view. It had become too sprawled. It was added on to year after year from the late 60s. And so in 2014, we made a decision that we had to rebuild a new purpose-built club on the corner of Marion and Meredith Street. And that is now the feature point. We have the plans for expansion, and it will grow bigger. It will grow bigger in the next 5 to 10 years, and we have hopes for hotels and function rooms and a bit of commercial space and perhaps over 50s living. So it's there's a lot more to do at Bankstown, and we've achieved the first step, I would say, in this last few years since 2014-15 when we first put the plan into action. The club opened in January 2019. Then, of course, we had COVID, we thought it was going to be the end of us. But we've struggled through that with the help of government and our suppliers, and we're now starting to see the benefits. The club is trading very well. We have some very nice dining areas. We have the Star Buffet, which has been with us for over 20 years, and they do something like 20,000 meals a month, possibly more around the festive season and that sort of stuff, particular dates. So it's been a good change. It's probably added 50 years to the club's life.
A huge milestone, 70 years. You've already touched on it before in your response. Can you share, if you're looking ahead in the near future, what does the future hold for Bankstown RSL?
So we'd have to diversify. We have to find another way of supporting the club, and the only way we can support the community is by being financial, by being strong financially, so that we can help the community in different ways. We already help a number of areas in the community: the Salvation Army, Bankstown City Aged Care, Oz Arab Media, we have a number of sporting clubs. We have Bankstown Bulls. We're not supporting them this year, I don't think, but we have in the past. The soccer club, Bankstown City Lions Soccer Club. Yes, we support a number of sporting bodies in the community.
Huge presence and contribution, like we said before. This year, 2025, 70 years in the Bankstown area. If you could leave our viewers with one message about how they can continue to support Bankstown RSL veterans and their families, and even experience the new dining experiences and obviously get along on that journey to the future, what would that be?
Yeah, well, I think the main message is that if we're quite happy to support the community. I guess what we would like is the community to support us a little more. Even some of these clubs that we support don't show a lot of love in kind, and that makes it difficult. I mean, I know that everybody's got their own out of house things to deal with, but the only way we can support the community is through them supporting us.
Get behind Bankstown RSL, the veterans, their families, and the huge contribution they've made to the area and obviously across Australia, not just Bankstown. Bruce, thank you so much for joining us here today on Us Arab Media.
Thanks, Shay.
Thank you for your contribution, and we look forward to what 2025 holds for Bankstown RSL.